Hi, this is Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com, back here on WagerTalk TV with your Friday NCAA Sweet 16 video. I'm going to break down all 4 games for Friday night. The round of the Sweet 16 continues. We'll have the Elite 8 set after tonight. I'm going to let you know how to play all 4 of these games, look at the side and the totals, and also let you know the most public sides and totals here on Friday night. Just a quick reminder, if you're finding these videos useful, quick thumbs up, a like goes a long way to keeping the content free. Also, comment below. I read all the comments and I'll reply back. Let me know who you like tonight on Friday in the Sweet 16. Also, make sure you click subscribe and hit the bell as well so you know when my Elite 8 videos are up for both Saturday and Sunday this weekend. Okay, let's start off with the first game on Friday night at 7:09 Eastern on CBS National TV. And just like Thursday night, both of the venues are NBA arenas, so they should be sightline friendly. Players should be very comfortable shooting. And this game, at least the first game of the night, is in Dallas, where the Mavericks play, American Airlines Arena. And we have Marquette and NC State, the Cinderella NC State Wolfpack. You know, the 2 Cinderella teams were a 6-seed Clemson and an 11-seed NC State coming into this round of the Sweet 16. And Clemson got it done last night with the outright upset win of Arizona. Can NC State keep it going? We'll find out. But they definitely are the Cinderella story, the only double-digit seed remaining. And they're catching a very underrated Marquette team. Marquette, of course, got blown out by Connecticut, lost to them twice this season. Second loss, so they were missing their key point guard. And I really do think that's the difference. With Kolek in the lineup, this Marquette team is very dangerous and a little bit underrated. In fact, if you looked at all the bracket contests out there, for all the 2 seeds, Marquette was at the bottom of the pack. In fact, some of the 3 and 4 seeds were picked more often to win the national title than Marquette. Shaka Smart flying a little bit under the radar. And this does look like a good matchup for Marquette for a few reasons. First of all, offensively and defensively, they're the more efficient team. We'll look at the KenPom rankings just because they're free and they're widely available for everyone to use. Marquette comes in as the 19th ranked offense and defense efficiently. NC State way down that list, 41st offense, 75th defense. It's a bad matchup for the Wolfpack here. Current line is 6.5, and this has been holding pretty steady. I do see a little bit of a sharp money lean at some books going to -7. Other books are holding 6.5. And ding, ding, red flag alert. NC State is a public underdog. The most public dog of the 4 games Friday night is NC State for what it's worth. So the public is on NC State, but we've seen a little bit of sharp money coming on Marquette. I do think NC State's Cinderella run ends here in this game. Keep in mind, this team had lost 10 out of 14 games. They're on a 4-10 run, including 4 straight losses before the ACC tournament a couple weeks ago, in which they ran off 5 straight wins. Back-to-back wins here, obviously, in the big dance. They took care of a very mediocre Texas Tech team, and then they were extremely fortunate to avoid Kentucky in the round of 32, and they got a 14 seed in Oakland. They were actually a 6.5 point favorite and barely won that game by just 6 points. Huge step up in class now against an underrated Marquette team that was up by 11 points in the first half against Colorado, ended up winning by only 4, and I think that's one of the reasons why the public is on NC State Friday night. All right, next game goes at 7:39 Eastern in the other arena, and that's in Detroit, Little Caesars Arena, where the Detroit Pistons play, another NBA arena in Detroit. And the 7:39 Eastern game is on TBS and True TV. We have Purdue, currently a 5 to 5.5 point favorite over Gonzaga. Totals holding around 154.5. We have seen a little bit of sharp money on the 155. The public, by the way, is on the over in this game. This is one of the more public overplays. But I don't disagree. I think the over has some value here, and that's why we've seen it go from 154 up to 154.5, even 155 at some of the sharper books. We've also seen Purdue rise a bit from a 4.5 point favorite up to 5.5. Now, on the surface, it's always dicey backing Matt Painter. He's been an underachiever in tournament caliber games. In fact, in the Big Ten Conference Tournament the last few seasons, he's now 1-14 against the spread, including a non-covering win against Michigan State and then an upset overtime loss as a favorite to Wisconsin in the semifinals the other week. But also in the NCAA tournament, 3 straight years he's been eliminated by a double-digit seed. Not likely to happen unless they play NC State, obviously. There's no other double-digit seeds remaining. But Gonzaga is just a 5 seed, so Matt Painter and Purdue have been underachievers in recent years. But you could almost say the same thing about Mark Few and Gonzaga. They've also underachieved at times, and they definitely underachieved the first half of this season. But they have turned things on recently, and that's important to note because these teams actually played each of the past 2 Novembers, both in neutral sites. They played in Portland last year. Purdue won that game by 18 points outright as a 6-point dog. And then more recently, this past November in Hawaii, Gonzaga and Purdue played. Purdue went off as a 5-point favorite. The total was 154, almost identical lines to this game. And Purdue did win that earlier meeting this season back on November 20th by 10, 73-63. It was a very low-scoring game, and there were only 73 possessions in that game. And another thing that jumps out to me is Purdue won the game by 10, despite shooting very poorly from three-point range. They were just 4 for 17 from three-point range, but they were 24 of two-pointers, Gonzaga just 20. So Purdue outscored them by 8 points from two-point range and by 8 points also from the free throw line. So plus 16 elsewhere, despite just 4 for 17 from the three-point arc. But once again, Gonzaga is playing better basketball the last couple months than back in November, but Purdue was the better team, and that's one of the reasons we've seen some sharp money push it from 4.5 up to 5.5. As far as the public sentiment, once again, pretty neutral on the side, but the public does like the over in this game, and that total has been rising higher as well. All right, let's look at the two late games here for Friday night. The Sweet 16 continues. Once again, the second game in Dallas, Texas at 9:40 Eastern on CBS. Houston and Duke. Houston's opened as a 4-point favorite. It's held steady all week at -4. Some of the sharper leading indicator books are looking like they might move to 4.5 by this evening, so keep an eye on that line. Total opened 133.5 earlier this week. It's been bet up to 134.5, so a little bit of money on the over. And the over is also looking like the most public play in this game. A little bit of a public lean towards Houston -4, but the over is a public lean as well in this one. And this line has risen a bit from the opening number. Two very good teams. Both of these teams are actually capable of winning the national title, in my opinion. But Houston is the better overall team. If you look at the efficiency ratings, Duke is the better offense. Houston is the better defense. Now, it's interesting to point out that we had some matchups like this last night on Thursday. In fact, we had the #1 defense in the country. I was sitting against the #1 offense, Illinois. Illinois pulled the upset. We also had the better defense, North Carolina, lose to the weaker offense in Alabama. So last night we actually, and Clemson, by the way, had a weaker D than Arizona. So 3 of the 4 weaker defenses won the game, including a couple outright underdog wins. Actually, all 3 were outright underdog wins, Illinois, Clemson, and Alabama on Thursday night. So once again, Houston, the better defensive team. Duke, though, the better offensive team with the weaker defense as a dog. We'll see how this one turns out. Houston, though, is a very efficient team. They're either first or second in overall efficiency rankings combined this season, depending on which metrics you use. And they are a dangerous team that has underachieved at times in big games, but still beat more top 50 opponents than anybody this season. As far as the matchup here, one thing that jumps out to me is that Houston has an extremely good two-point defense, the third best two-point defense in the country, and Duke is a very good two-point shooting team on offense. But Duke is also an excellent three-point shooting team, whereas Houston has the 10th best three-point shooting D, but they do give up a lot of shots from three. In fact, 284th ranked out of 362. They give up over 40% of the shots from three-point range. So basically, if Duke's going to pull the upset, it's going to come down to if they hit their threes or not, which is often the case in these random one-and-done scenario games. As far as their path here, Duke's had a pretty easy path playing just Vermont, and then the 12 seed James Madison, and Duke was 14 for 28, 50% from three. James Madison was just 4 for 18, and that's why Duke won that game easily by 38 points. But they have struggled in stepping up in class in recent months. You know, they lost that game to NC State, the first game of the tournament in the ACC a couple weeks ago, lost both meetings against North Carolina, also lost to Wake and Pitt, 2 of the other top 40 rated teams that they played over the past month. And this is probably their toughest opponent yet. And that is why we see Houston as a 4-point favorite. All right, one game remaining for Friday in the Sweet 16. It'll finish it off at 10 o'clock Eastern back in Detroit, Michigan. Creighton and Tennessee, a fantastic matchup. We've seen some early money coming on Tennessee this week. They opened -2. It is now up to -3 across the board as we head into Friday. Total has also risen, 142.5. It's now up to 144. The sharper books have gone to 144.5 at some locations. So both the favorite and the over is getting some money here between Tennessee and Creighton. You know, I talked about Matt Painter underachieving. Well, the biggest underachiever in the NCAA tournament for the past decade plus has been Rick Barnes. He was at Texas for a while. Now he's been at Tennessee. He continues to underachieve no matter where he goes. In fact, he made the Elite Eight his first season with Texas over 15 plus years ago, and he has not made it past the Sweet 16 since. And he's on a current 4-17 ATS run. So hard to back Tennessee with numbers like that, especially laying a price. And Creighton is a very balanced team offensively and defensively. They're the 10th most efficient offense in the country. Tennessee is only 30th. Tennessee, though, the 3rd best defense. Creighton only 23rd. So here again, just like the situation that went 3-1 last night. We have the better offense. Well, actually, it didn't go 3-1. It went 3-0 because Connecticut was the better offense and defense against San Diego State. The other 3 games last night on Thursday, we had underdogs who were the better offense, weaker defense, and all 3 won outright. Duke fits that qualification, as I just mentioned, and so does Creighton, the better offense, but the weaker defense against Tennessee. The other thing here, too, is that Tennessee likes a more up-tempo style. Creighton is more comfortable with the slow-down half-court style. And speaking of Connecticut, UConn is 23-1 straight up since January 1st this year. Guess who beat them? Of course, it was Creighton earlier this season. Now, it was a terrible spot for UConn. They'd blown out Marquette at home on Saturday, had a quick turnaround travel situation on a Monday night game. Nonetheless, though, Creighton is the only team this calendar year since January 1st to beat Connecticut, who's obviously the best team in college basketball. So, very dangerous underdog here at +3, especially considering that Rick Barnes is just 4-17 ATS in the tournament over the recent years. As far as the matchup in this game, like I said with Duke, it's going to come down once again to if Creighton can hit their 3-point shots. They take the 7th highest percentage of threes in the country. Nearly half their shots this year come from 3-point range. And Tennessee does have a very good 3-point defense. However, Tennessee gives up over 41.5% of their opponent's shots from 3. That's only 309th in the country out of 362 teams. So Tennessee allows a lot of threes. They do defend it well, but Creighton is a great 3-point shooting team, and that will be the difference in this game if they can get there. Another interesting fact about Creighton, they give up the fewest percentage of shots from free throw line of any team in the country, but they also take the fewest shots. They're 352nd offensively, number 1 defensively in free throw percentage of total shots. So they don't get to the line much, but neither do their opponents. And the reason I bring that up, that obviously can affect an over-under. On the season, Creighton is 17-17 over and under. It hasn't made a difference, but they are 12-6 under in their 18 games away from home this year. Yet this line has risen a bit higher. Total open 142.5. It's up to 144. As far as the public consensus in this game, public is pretty neutral on both the side and the total in this one. Not too much on either one. I would say a little bit of a lean towards the over. In fact, the public is pretty much leaning towards the over in all 4 games on Friday, and this is one of them as well. Public is also leaning a little bit to Tennessee based on some of the metrics that I look at. All right, that's your breakdown for the 4 games on Friday night in the Sweet 16. Hope you found it useful. If you did, thumbs up, like, comment below. I read all the comments. I reply back. Who do you like on Friday night in the Sweet 16 as we get ever so closer to having the Elite 8 set for Saturday and Sunday? Speaking of the Elite 8, we'll have videos for both Saturday and Sunday here on this channel. Click subscribe and hit the bell as well so you don't miss out. You'll know when they're posted. And if you'd like my official best bets for Friday night, I know we're talking college basketball, but I've isolated one of the strongest NBA plays I've seen all season going tonight on Friday. So don't miss that. A strong NBA situation going tonight on Friday. And oh, by the way, nobody in the history of WagerTalk.com has won more with college and pro basketball sides combined than I have. And I love this NBA side. In fact, I'm ranked number 1 this year in units won on NBA sides. And this is as strong as any I've seen all season. It's a little buried under the radar because we have all this Final Four, Sweet 16, almost Final Four, NCAA Tournament talk. But the NBA still produces great situations. I've isolated one tonight on Friday, so check that out. Don't forget about baseball also. Baseball started yesterday on Thursday. Doesn't get much easier than our opening night winner that we had on Arizona, a 16-1 blowout. And we didn't lay the $2. We played them on the run line, -1.5 at a very reasonable price. I love baseball. It's a great money maker, but you have to take a consistent investment approach. That's why I highly recommend a direct subscription. And this week, if you use promo code Merril7, you can get the next 7 days and nights of all sports for just $69. That's baseball, college, and pro basketball. You get that super strong NBA best bet tonight. You get baseball for the next 7 days. You get both my Sweet 16 best bets and my Elite 8 best bets into next week. It's a great day to try a 7-day all access. And through this weekend, if you use promo code Merril7, you get it down to $69 instantly. That's an instant 30% $30 discount. Just go to the 7-day all access on the right side of the page. You'll see it's $99, but at checkout, use promo code Merril7. You get it for $69. The next 7 days and nights of football, basketball, and baseball. But there is no football, so just baseball and basketball. It's all sports, all access for 7 days and nights for just $69 with promo code Merril7. 2 R's, 1 L, Merril, the number 7, Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. Don't forget to also post free plays daily on that page as well. Check out the free basketball and baseball plays every day. Follow me on Twitter and X at Steve Merril, 2 R's, 1 L, at Steve Merril on Twitter and X. And don't forget to also post free plays throughout the week on Instagram, so follow me on IG. And stay tuned right here to WagerTalk TV for more great college and pro basketball preview videos coming up next.